Ayan, a boy who was assigned an undesirable profession as a material evaluator, is treated poorly by his team. One day, he stumbles upon a hidden S-rank tree in a cave, and his life begins to change after that encounter. The anime episode begins with the group inside a Dimas dungeon as they hunt massive monsters. Zoid attempts to strike down a colossal beast but fails. His companion Jolene casts a fireball spell to assist him. Thanks to her magic, they manage to slay the monster. Afterward, Zoid boasts about his role in the fight, but Jolene reminds him that it was her magic that sealed the victory. Zoid then speaks with a young man named Ayan, who is assigned the role of a cleaner and servant for the team. They treat him poorly, almost like a slave. Ayan is seen carrying numerous heavy bags on his shoulders, and he collapses under their weight. Zoid yells at him, calling him useless. Jolene intervenes, asking Zoid to show some compassion since Ayan doesn't belong to the upper class like them. Instead, he is one of the lowly commoners. Zoid orders Ayan to evaluate their loot. As Ayan complies, he talks to himself about his past. He explains that his job as an appraiser was assigned to him as a commoner. In their society, people are born into roles that are nearly impossible to change. These roles are divided into 3 categories. 1. The rare class, a small group of talented individuals, including wealthy merchants and military strategists. 2. The upper commoners, people like Zoid and Jolene, consisting of skilled fighters, mages, and others capable of combat. 3. The lower commoners, farmers, appraisers, and others deemed unfit for battle. Jobs are typically inherited, so children often follow their parents' paths. However, since Ayan lost his parents at a young age, he took the alternative path available to commoners, becoming an adventurer. His lifelong dream of becoming wealthy remains unfulfilled. Ayan focuses on appraising a giant rat's corpse and removes its innards. Zoid grows angry at the delay, but Ayan explains that rigor mortis has begun to set in. He asks for help in opening the creature's mouth, but the others refuse, claiming it's his job. Frustrated, Ayan injures Zoid's insults. Zoid hits him for daring to look at them, and Ayan apologizes sadly, lamenting the world's unfairness. After finishing the task, Jolene expresses disgust, unable to believe Ayan put his hand inside the rat's belly. However, as an appraiser, this filthy work is part of his job. The corpse must be evaluated before it can be handed over to the Guild for Magical Processing. Ayan reflects on their repulsion and admits to himself that he cannot blame them for feeling that way. Zoid snaps at Ayan again, reminding him that the only reason they tolerate his presence is to avoid dirtying their magical bag with unclean corpses. Reluctantly, Ayan continues to endure their treatment to survive in this harsh world. As they proceed, they stumble upon the corpse of a hellhound. Zoid orders Ayan to harvest its materials, which surprises Ayan. According to guild records, such a beast shouldn't exist in this dungeon. Zoid dismisses Ayan's concerns and insists on completing the task, as hellhound materials fetch a high price. Ayan complies but notices something wrong when they find a second hellhound corpse. The map they received indicates only one path in this area. Zoid mocks Ayan's doubts and orders him to stop whining about irrelevant details. Ayan urges the group to leave immediately, sensing danger. Zoid refuses and threatens to leave Ayan behind without his share of the loot if he doesn't comply. Ayan contemplates his options, knowing few groups would accept someone of his status. Reluctantly, he agrees to stay with the group to avoid losing his livelihood. They move further down the path and discover a mountain of treasures. Ayan is astonished and wonders who defeated all the hellhounds. If adventurers did this, why didn't they collect the materials? Suddenly, a large pack of monsters emerges, revealing that the corpses were the result of a territorial fight. The group panics, realizing they are outmatched, and decides to flee the area. Zoid says, "I couldn't face this number even if I were immortal." He orders Jolene to cast a paralysis spell on Ayan. Ayan panics, shocked by their actions. Jolene tells him the spell won't last long, adding, "You might escape if you're lucky." The hellhounds attack Ayan, biting him from all sides. In desperation, he throws them a magical apple to distract them before attempting to flee. "This is my chance to escape," Ayan says as he runs from the monsters. However, he finds the exit blocked and continues walking until he reaches a dead end. He mutters to himself, "If I go back, the hounds will eat me, and if I move forward, I'll fall off the cliff and die. This is because I was born as a useless appraiser. I became an adventurer trying to escape my fate and live my life. Zoid and the others mocked me, and I bowed my head to them because I couldn't fight. I'm just a worthless appraiser. All I've done is blame my job and run away. But it's too late now, due to my weakness." Ayan falls from the cliff, saying, "Why was I even born? There's no meaning to my life. I couldn't accomplish anything. In the end, I achieved nothing. It was a terrible life. I was treated like garbage, and now I'll die?" The scene shifts to a serene place where a beautiful girl appears and kisses Ayan on the forehead. When he wakes up, he is astonished to find all his injuries healed. Looking around, he notices a giant tree and realizes it is the world tree. Long ago, our world had a single world tree responsible for producing the magical energy we use. We inhale mana from the atmosphere and process it within our bodies. The tree responsible for this mana is the world tree. It is said to have withered long ago and no longer exists. Then how is mana still being produced after the death of the world tree? Scientists theorize that other world trees might exist elsewhere and launched extensive campaigns to find them. However, despite searching the entire Earth, no world tree was found. Ayan thanks the tree for saving his life. This place is so peaceful for a Demis. I don't sense any monsters. But then he wonders, what should I do now? He remembers the group that betrayed him and sold him out to the monsters. Determined, he stands up. I have to find food to survive, no matter the risk. Taking a chance, he ventures out. Suddenly, a shocking event occurs. His ear is cut off before his eyes. Immediately after, his fingers are severed. Ayan screams in agony as his body is struck repeatedly, leaving him injured everywhere. At that moment, a one-eyed monster appears, intending to kill him. Just as Ayan braces for his end, a more terrifying creature arrives and ends the one-eyed monster's life instantly. The giant bear-like creature grabs Ayan, prepares to finish him off. However, a mysterious individual intervenes, saving Ayan's life and restoring completely as if nothing had happened. Ayan then encounters the beautiful girl again and is captivated by her charm. And so, our episode ends here. Stay tuned for the next installment, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated. Our episode begins with Ursula, the beautiful young woman, saying to Ayan, "Why are you staring at my daughter like that? Come drink this tea. You should drink it with great gratitude and sincerity." Surprised, Ayan asks, "What kind of tea is this? And what's the occasion?" Ursula snatches the tea from her daughter and forces Ayan to drink it. Ayan is captivated by Yuri's beauty and the delicate movement of her small ears. However, Ursula becomes angry and warns him, "If you have any twisted thoughts about my daughter, I'll erase you from existence." Later, Ayan realizes that they were the ones who saved him from the monsters after Yuri insisted on helping him. He thanks her, which makes Yuri blush deeply. Her mother, however, punches Ayan hard for staring at her daughter too much. Ayan, still curious, asks, "How are you a mother when you look so young?" Ursula explains, "I am the guardian of this tree. My name is Ursula, and I have been in this place for a very long time." But Ayan continues to gaze passionately at Yuri, enchanted by her beauty. Once again, Ursula becomes furious, strikes him, and warns him not to use his eyes like that again. This triggers Ayan's memory of the giant bear that struck him and robbed him of his eye, leaving him gravely injured. However, now he is completely healed. Ursula reveals that she treated him with a powerful medicine made from the tree. Unfortunately, she couldn't heal his eye. Instead, they crafted an artificial eye and implanted it during a complex and intense surgery, all because Yuri requested it. When Ayan asks Yuri why she did this, she responds, "Because you thanked me when I saved you. It's very rare for anyone to thank me. That made me very happy. Most people who know about this tree and that I'm part of it come only to take its rare leaves and branches for themselves. But you didn't do that, and I'm grateful for it." Ursula then tells Ayan, "Now you must leave, child." Yuri, however, pleads with her mother, "Wait, Mom. It's too dangerous out there. We can't send him to his doom. Please, isn't there something we can do? I don't want to send him away. Besides, the teleportation magic doesn't work inside the Dimas." Yuri becomes sad and starts crying, clearly very concerned for Ayan's safety. Seeing this, Ursula decides to train Ayan and make him strong enough to leave on his own. Overjoyed by the chance to become stronger and return to the outside world, Ayan eagerly accepts. Ursula sets only one condition: he must give his full effort and determination to the training. The scene shifts to the Damas, where Ursula tells Ayan not to be afraid. She promises to make him strong as quickly as possible. She instructs him to close his eyes and focus on Yuri and her immense power. When Ayan opens his eyes, he can finally see everything clearly, including the bat-like monster that previously attacked him, nearly killing him. He had managed to cut off its arm and ear during their last encounter. Ursula tells Ayan that his first task is to dodge all the monster's attacks. The bat strikes and cuts Ayan's ear once again, but Ursula heals him with her miraculous medicine and uses his evaluation skill to analyze the monster, realizing that if he can time his movements correctly, he might defeat it. At the last moment, Ayan successfully dodges one of the monster's attacks, his first time ever evading a monster strike, let alone a monster with an S-rank evaluation. However, when Ayan tries to counterattack, the monster strikes him multiple times, injuring his body severely. A week passes, and Ayan grows significantly more skilled. Ursula tells him that it's time for the next lesson, defeating a demon. She explains that he will use his artificial eye for a specific task and hands him a wooden staff made from the tree she guards, a weapon of exceptional strength. Then Ayan uses the staff, having trained extensively in all aspects of combat. However, when he faces the demon, his attack surprises the creature not because it's powerful, but because it's incredibly slow. His teacher advises him, you need to think this through and use your mind. Only by solving this problem yourself can you defeat the demon without anyone's help. Ayan tries again, but the demon dodges his attacks effortlessly. At this point, his teacher gives him a hint. He can evaluate the demon's strength by analyzing its movements and trajectory in slow motion. Following her advice, Ayan focuses and carefully tracks the demon's path and actions. With this insight, he delivers a powerful blow that defeats the demon. Overjoyed, Ayan celebrates. This is his first time defeating an S-class monster. But his teacher quickly reminds him, don't celebrate too soon. There are many more monsters you'll need to defeat. Indeed, within an hour or two, Ayan manages to take down over 100 monsters, growing stronger and more confident with each victory. Next, they move on to the following lesson, evaluating a demon's abilities and making them his own. His teacher explains evaluation relies on analyzing and gathering information in the right way, then turning that information into your advantage. Since you have a powerful artificial eye, you're not limited to simply acquiring knowledge from the data. You can also gain experience directly. With this newfound understanding, Ayan is ready to unlock the full potential of his artificial eye and face even greater challenges ahead. Ayan expresses his amazement at the spiritual eye, calling it incredible. Ursula then asks him to test the power of the eye he possesses. When Ayan activates it, he discovers that the demon he recently fought has an S ability. Suddenly, he lets out a loud scream as he feels the information embedding itself directly into his mind. He now possesses the demon's ability. Ursula commands him to try using it. Ayan starts running with incredible speed, faster than he's ever moved before. However, his body cannot keep up with the velocity and he collapses to the ground with torn muscles. Ursula reassures him, explaining that this is normal. She adds, you must keep running. Don't rely solely on your legs when you run. You need to use your entire body. Your muscle fibers will strengthen after tearing. If you repeat this process hundreds of thousands of times, your body will adapt to withstand any speed. Determined, Ayan keeps running tirelessly. Over time, his muscles stop tearing and become incredibly strong and flexible. At the end of his grueling training, Ayan speaks with Ursula, sharing his thoughts. He declares that he must prepare to face the Death Bear. Ursula, however, mocks his overconfidence and warns him that he's not ready yet. To challenge him further, Ursula asks Ayan to evaluate her abilities, even though she dislikes being evaluated. Ayan is thrilled and requests to witness her power. Ursula obliges, demonstrating her fire magic. Ayan attempts to analyze her strength, but is unable to evaluate it fully. She explains that the spell she just used is called Spell Removal, a power that allows her to cast magic simply by thinking about it. This eliminates the need for the usual incantations required for casting spells, making it an exceptionally advantageous ability in battle. Amazed, Ayan regards instant spell casting as a truly extraordinary power. Ursula asks him to evaluate both her spell removal and fireball abilities again. As she demonstrates her power, Ayan uses his eye to analyze her capabilities, but the strain exhausts him immensely. Ursula continues pushing Ayan, instructing him to repeatedly evaluate her abilities over 5 consecutive days. Since Ayan's role doesn't naturally feature strong magical capacities, his mana reserves are limited. Eventually, his magical energy depletes, causing him to collapse. At this critical moment, Yuri intervenes, using a droplet from the World Tree on Ayan. The droplet doesn't just restore his magical energy, it enhances his overall capacity and resilience, preparing him for the challenges ahead. 5 days have passed since Ayan began training with these abilities. Because his role doesn't inherently excel in magic, his magical capacity is low. Whenever his mana is depleted, Yuri uses a droplet from the World Tree on him. These droplets don't replenish mana, but instead increase his total magical capacity. However, for the droplets to take effect, Ayan must completely exhaust his mana. If he doesn't, his capacity won't grow. Over the course of half a month of intense training, Ayan pushes himself to his limits. By the end, he not only masters the ability to cast 1,000 fireballs simultaneously, but also becomes proficient in using intermediate level magic and the abilities he has copied. His physical strength improves significantly, his magical capacity increases, and his exceptional spiritual eye evaluation skill becomes a crucial asset. Ursula approaches Ayan and proposes a rematch. She tells him, "You're no longer weak. You're far stronger than you were before. If you quickly grasp what you've learned and apply it, you'll win without difficulty." Ayan agrees, and they head to the cave for the battle. When Ayan sees the monster, fear grips him. But this time, instead of retreating, he channels his power and begins attacking relentlessly, striking the monster over and over with his newfound strength. Finally, he delivers the decisive blow, defeating the monster for good. Ayan is overjoyed, realizing how much stronger he has become. And so, today's episode of this anime concludes. Stay tuned for the upcoming episodes. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on all the latest content. Our episode begins with Ayan finally stepping up and proving himself as a dependable man. Now he hunts monsters, evaluates them, and doesn't cower like he used to. Ursula encourages him, saying he's gained a lot of confidence. All that remains is for him to defeat the monsters while finding his way to the surface. This marks the end of his training. Later, they return to Yuri, and Ursula gives her a gift, something Yuri had originally given her. It's a core that can be used to craft an artificial eye to replace the one Yuri lost. Yuri hesitates, saying he can't accept it since she might need it herself. Ursula retorts, "You've got it all wrong, you idiot. You're just borrowing it. I've placed a spell on it. If you die, it'll bring you right back here. Now, shut your eyes." She performs surgery on him, implanting the core in his eye. Over time, the eye is expected to grow stronger. When Yuri thanks her profusely, she vanishes. Suddenly, Yuri emerges from his eye and says, "Hey, I'm inside your eye now. This core lets me pop out whenever I want. Get excited, dummy. Looks like I'll be joining you wherever you go." Ursula, however, is furious. She doesn't want Yuri to leave and starts hitting Yuri out of frustration. "You idiot. She's been alone her entire life. I'm the only one who's been with her. She's always been lonely, and I'm scared for her. But you have a good heart. Take care of her and show her the world. Make her happy, okay?" Before they part ways, Ursula adds an infinite storage charm to Yuri's hand. With just his will, he can store unlimited items inside the seal. She also gives him a powerful sword forged from rare materials and forces him to swallow the feast stone. To his surprise, his right eye is deeply affected, becoming permanently connected to her consciousness. Now they can communicate at any time, and she can see everything he and Yuri do. "They don't even think about doing anything weird with Yuri. I'll be watching," she warns. As Yuri and Yuri begin their journey to the surface, they walk through a dungeon but soon get lost. Ursula guides him telepathically, saying, "Turn left and follow the arrows I've drawn for you. You won't get lost." Suddenly, they sense an enemy approaching, a giant, venomous snake with various toxic abilities. Yuri readies his sharp sword and slashes the snake into pieces. While evaluating it, he's struck by a severe headache. Yuri quickly heals him, and Yuri gratefully thanks her, happy to have her by his side. Finally, they reach a dangerous-looking door leading to the surface. Ursula explains telepathically, every dungeon has something called a monster boss. These dungeons are living entities that consume humans, and their energy source is a beating heart, the maze's core. They won't let their hearts be destroyed easily, so they're protected by guardian monsters. To open the door, you'll need to defeat the boss. Be warned, they're extremely powerful. The door opens and the core is within sight, but just as they approach it, a massive monster boss emerges. It's a towering, incredibly strong beast. Yuri quickly retreats into Yuri's eye, and Ursula telepathically advises, "Don't get too close, its size gives it a huge advantage." Yuri charges forward, activating his stone hand for a devastating meteor-like punch. The collision creates a massive explosion, injuring Yuri, but Yuri immediately heals him with lightning speed. Then, Ayan quickly uses the dissolving poison. The monster melts both of his arms, but Ayan counters with a remaining arm, delivering a devastating blow that obliterates the entire area. However, it becomes clear that Ayan won't win so easily. He considers using the ultimate spell. Ursula taught him a one-time use spell that requires an enormous amount of magical energy, which he now possesses. "All right, Ayan," Ursula's voice echoes in his mind, "unleash the full power of your eyes." Determined, Ayan decides to cast his ultimate technique, Nova Strike. The attack engulfs the entire battlefield in flames, annihilating the massive monster. To his disbelief, he emerges victorious. Just as he begins to process what he's accomplished, Ursula appears unexpectedly. Surprised, he asks how she got there. Ursula explains that the tools she gave him are enchanted, allowing her to teleport to him whenever she wants. They approach a massive crystal, and Ursula explains that this crystal can enhance his eye further. She uses its power on him, elevating him to the second level. She tells him that by continuing to defeat powerful monsters, especially the dungeon bosses, and absorbing the maze cores, he can ascend to higher levels effortlessly. Once the process is complete, the dungeon door closes behind them, sealing itself forever. Finally, Ayan, Yuri, and Ursula make it to the surface. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the townspeople and adventurers in the streets and guild halls. They discuss the increasing danger and question whether Zwoidings were true. Zwoid, the man who betrayed Ayan, dramatically claims, "Yes, it's true. If you want to die, go there." Pretending to grieve, he adds, "Ayan sacrificed himself for us. Prepare yourselves for the worst if you go after him." The adventurers, unaware of his lies, are shocked by his performance. Zwid continues, crying fake tears. Ayan was a brave man who shielded his companions and became their ultimate protector. He entrusted me with the mission to live on for him. The adventurers grow emotional, but then a familiar voice interrupts from behind. Who are you saying is dead now? Everyone turns to see Ayan standing there, alive and well. Zwid freezes, assuming he's seeing a ghost. How are you alive? He stammers. Ayan replies calmly, I walked out after defeating the monsters. Simple as that. Zwid refuses to believe him, insisting it's impossible to defeat such beasts. However, one of the guild members points out, if the man who saved our lives is standing here alive, shouldn't we be happy? Ayan, however, exposes Zwid and Jeline's betrayal, recounting how they left him as bait for the Hellhounds. The adventurers realize Zwid had been lying to them and begin beating him in anger. Ayan steps in, telling them to calm down. At the end of the day, I'm alive. That's what matters. He thanks Zwid, surprisingly, for abandoning him as it led him to meet Yuri and Ursula. Ayan then walks away, leaving everyone in awe. He's no longer the timid man he once was. Instead, he radiates confidence and fearlessness. Later, Ayan reunites with Yuri and Ursula, proudly telling them about his new abilities gained from defeating a dungeon boss near the capital. Ursula congratulates him on leveling up again, noting his new ability to read any text. The next morning, Ayan, Yuri, and Ursula are seen walking through the forest. Ayan mentions there's no world tree in the recent dungeon, meaning finding one won't be easy. These trees sustain the entire world. If finding one were easy, we'd be in trouble. Ayan apologizes to Yuri, saying it seems their journey to reunite her with her family will take longer than expected. Suddenly, they hear a commotion in the distance. Ursula alerts them there are monsters attacking a carriage up ahead. We need to help. Without hesitation, Ayan asks Yuri to join him in the fight. Together, they charge at the monsters. Ayan dispatches them with ease, showing just how far he's come. Then Ayan approaches the individuals in the carriage and finds none other than Princess Claudia, the third princess of the kingdom, accompanied by Jasper, the head of a major trading company. After ensuring their safety, the group heads to the royal palace. The princess expresses her gratitude for being rescued, but Ayan humbly directs the praise to Yuri, saying Yuri deserves the thanks. She healed your companions. Princess Claudia turns to Yuri with a smile. There's no need to be so formal with me, she says kindly. After the formalities, the princess unexpectedly tries to hug Ayan, but Yuri steps in, blocking her. Sternly, Yuri declares, I'm Ayan's wife. The princess, unfazed, cheekily responds, well, I'd like to be his second wife then. These days, it's not uncommon for a man to have more than one wife. Their exchange is cut short when Jasper speaks to Ayan, inviting him to a private room filled with dazzling gemstones. Jasper introduces himself formally. I'm the head of the Gino Guild, a trade company dedicated to preserving and protecting the world's rare gems. I ensure their brilliance lasts forever. Jasper then gazes intently at Ayan and says, your left eye, Ayan, is the core of Noah. It's the source of the world tree's power. Long ago, the world tree stood tall above the surface, its magic sealing away Mictorin, the king of demonic plagues, who once sought to destroy the world. The world tree exhausted all its strength to create the seal, leaving behind only its soul core. That seal cost the surface its world tree. I've been searching for the soul core for a very long time, and now, here you are. Ayan listens attentively and then suggests, if that's the case, why don't we become friends? Jasper smiles and agrees, adding, you're welcome to live in this palace as long as you'd like. Curious, Ayan asks if Jasper has any information about the soul core. Jasper nods but warns him, yes, I have some knowledge, but the locations connected to the soul core are extremely dangerous. Exploring them is nearly impossible. And so today's episode of this anime comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with all the latest content. Sometime later, the group reaches the secret dungeon Jasper mentioned. On hopes one of Yuri's sisters will be there. The girl seems worried, so he reassures her, promising to do everything he can to reunite them. Inside, On walks until he hits a dead end. Ursula explains that the wall has a teleportation spell and On can enter the dungeon by touching it. When he does, he finds himself in a vast forest within the labyrinth, utterly astonished. Ursula suspects powerful illusions are altering the interior. On grows even more frightened, thinking it's all a mirage, until he hears a woman's voice celebrating the arrival of the older sister. Similarly, Yuri appears and celebrates seeing her sister Pina, at least by her voice, as she doesn't see anyone around. Yuri explains that Pina is a mischievous girl while she herself watches the scene through an oracle. She sees that her sister has joined a human. Pina warns that she's waiting at the very back of the dungeon and wishes them good luck on their journey. On complains that Yuri could have found a quicker way to see her and ask her to teleport them, but Yuri responds that she isn't capable of such a thing, so they'll have to walk Unconvinced, Ayan reflects that teleportation isn't a common spell, as he's only seen Ursula use it. Meanwhile, Pina adds that she's set up many traps in this dungeon she built, not to mention the monsters scattered everywhere. In other words, there's no guarantee the two youngsters will reach her intact. Nevertheless, Yuri promises to try her best, but Pina corrects her, saying it's her boyfriend who needs to make the effort. Smitten, Yuri asks what made her sister think this gentleman is her boyfriend, while Ayan accepts the challenge and announces they should set off now. Since it'll be dangerous, he suggests the tree spirit stay inside his eye. Seeing Ayan's confidence, Pina is sure he won't make it through, as this is the hardest of all secret dungeons. She advises him to give up sooner rather than later. To this, Ayan responds that he won't have any problems, but the spirit promises he'll eat his words. Thinking to herself, Pina doesn't know who this guy is or what he's doing with her sister, but whoever he is, she'll peel off his sheep's skin and reveal the wolf lurking behind. As Ayan advances, she notices he hasn't seen a hidden hole ahead and prepares to watch him fall. Just as he's about to step on the trap, Ursula warns him of the danger and tells him to jump, leaving the mischievous spirit dumbfounded. After that, Ursula encourages her pupil to take the challenge and stride forward. With the Guardian's help, Ayan manages to escape the trap set by Pina, frustrating the dungeon's creator. During the argument between Pina and Ursula inside Ayan's head, Yuri gets involved and explains that her younger sister loves to entertain people in her peculiar way. Ayan remembers that someone could die in this game if they took the wrong step. Pina gets angry and corrects him, saying she didn't set up the labyrinth to be deadly. If there were real danger, Ayan would be expelled automatically. Out of spite, she decides to make him face a very powerful monster, but gives him the chance to quit before getting thrashed. Since Ayan doesn't give up, the monster is placed before him. Ursula explains that it's an an S-rank monster capable of generating various types of plant seeds. Right away, the expels sleeping pollen, but since Ayan has resistance to all status effects, it simply doesn't work on him, leaving Pina even more disheveled. Finally, Ayan conjures his sword and cuts the monster in half without ceremony. Afterward, he evaluates the creature to steal the abilities Universal Seeds and Universal Gardens. In the midst of this, something is thrown at his head, and Ursula thinks it's an enemy using stealth since no one is visible. Pina doesn't understand why Ayan isn't taking any damage from the ranged attacks, so he explains that he also has the ability Ambush Nullify. Furthermore, normal attacks won't work against him either, as he possesses the technique Immovable Fortress. Nevertheless, Pina doesn't give up and argues that although Ayan can't be hurt, he also can't see her silent ants. However, Ursula warns Ayan that she has located the ants, so he uses the gravitational well with his master's instruction and hits the monsters. Finally, he evaluates and steals the ability Stealth and Back Attack. At this point, Pina is screaming in indignation, questioning how this kid can defeat Rank S without breaking a sweat. Ayan explains that Yuri passed some stolen powers to him, so the spirit begins to cry in anger. Yuri cries back, frustrated with her sister. However, even amidst the problems, Pina boosts her morale again and promises that she won't let this setback bring her down. She then sends an Arachne and a Cardo to attack Ayan, but he uses super acceleration to finish both with a single blow. Ursula evaluates the dead monsters for Ayan, who gains the ability Steel Thread and Sticky Thread from the spider, as well as Magic Archery and Arrow dodging from the humanoid horse. This time, the intruder killed two S-rank monsters at once, so Pina starts to feel that the situation is much deeper than she thought. She asks if he's some kind of supreme monster, but he responds that he's just a humble evaluator. Meanwhile, in another corner of the same forest, Zoid walks exhausted until he stumbles over a tree root. Frustrated, he wonders why this is happening to him and blames Ayan for his failure, as usual. Hours earlier, when he arrived at the tavern, the patrons glared at him coldly. He had gained a bad reputation after it was discovered that he left the group's item collector to die in a dungeon. Near the counter, he's surprised to find Jolene after so long, but she tells him not to talk to her. Two men approach and comment that they heard Zoid cast a paralyzing spell on Ayan and threw him to the wolves. Zoid says it was Jolene who cast that spell, so the mage fakes crying and lies that Zoid forced her to do it. Zoid tries to argue that it's all an act, but everyone is irreversibly against him, and they throw him out of the tavern. Angered, Zoid kicks a barrel and says all these guys would do the same in his place, but they still insist on judging him this way. Honestly, the adventurer just wishes Ayan had died so he wouldn't have to go through what he's enduring. But all he can do now is tackle a high-difficulty solo mission, one so challenging it will improve his reputation when completed. With this in mind, Zoid accepts a mission to hunt an S-rank sea monster in a dungeon created by Pina, even though he knows it's tough to come out alive. He sees no other option to regain his credibility among the other guild adventurers. Hearing a noise, Zoid jumps and almost despairs, but quickly recovers and leans against the wall to rest. Unwittingly, he's teleported to the forest where he meets Ayan. Realizing he's in a secret dungeon, Zoid knows he must face monsters as formidable as those hellhounds, but he has no choice but to prove his worth. However, as soon as he begins his journey through the woods, he falls into a hidden hole filled with spikes and is certain he will die during the fall. But instead, he falls back to the beginning of the dungeon. At that moment, Pina explains to the challenger that he doesn't die in this dungeon she designed, therefore he can try again whenever he wants. Zoid claims to have lost his fear and keeps trying repeatedly, regardless of the number of attempts necessary, even if it means dozens or hundreds of times. After a long period of failures, the adventurer keeps at it, even though he's tired and wounded. At that time, he encounters a gigantic reptile on the way and draws his sword, but suffers a harsh blow that severely injures his left shoulder. In agony, Zoid hears the voice of the dungeon spirit once more, asking if he wants to give up and be teleported out. However, the warrior doesn't want to give up this time. He wants to prove he's capable. But the reptile steps on his hand, worsening the situation. Not wanting to throw in the towel, Zoid simply closes his eyes and waits for death until a stream of blood hits his face. When he opens his eyes, Zoid sees On slicing off the head of the S-rank monster with a single strike and thanks him for the help. On looks back at his former companion and is surprised to see him there. Zoid explains that he came to conquer this dungeon, and On steals the weapon breaker ability from the monster. Zoid is consumed by anger and humiliation for having been saved by the man he most hates and despises on the face of the earth. On asks Yuri to heal the injured, but Zoid doesn't understand who the kid is talking to. Suddenly, On expels the water of the world tree and regenerates Zoid's grave injuries, then bids him farewell as he's in a hurry. Startled, Zoid asks On to wait, but Ayan touches his forehead and applies the faint skill, causing Zoid to lose consciousness. As he fades, Zoid hears On tell Pina he's given up and needs to be taken out of the dungeon. Further ahead, On proceeds to the boss gate, and Pina warns that whoever doesn't defeat the boss doesn't win the prize. On thought the world tree would be sealed if he killed the boss, but Ursula adds that this won't be a problem as long as he destroys the labyrinth core. Now, understanding, Ayan crosses the gate, arriving in another jungle on the other side. Hearing the ground tremble, On quickly floats to get a panoramic view of the space. Ursula explains that it's as if the enemy is the ground itself. Suddenly, a colossal turtle emerges from underground, making On react on impulse with several fireballs which barely tickle the creature. Amid this, Ursula senses a familiar energy in the room, but doesn't have time to explain as her pupil is attacked again. As a water ball approaches, On slows down time with super evaluation and uses parry on the projectile to throw it back at the attacker, but once again, no damage occurs. Thinking about what he can do to defeat such a strong monster, On gets distracted and is crushed by a stomp. However, he didn't move on his own because he already suspected that this monster was just an illusion. With certainty, he activates the Disciple ability with a snap of his fingers, ordering the monster to reveal its true form. Thus, the turtle disintegrates, showing it was just a small and harmless animal. The most impressive thing, however, is that this little creature even altered Ayan's evaluation reading. Now that he can properly evaluate it, Ursula is shocked to discover who it really is. Not knowing this yet, On asks if he needs to finish off the creature, but Ursula insists he should. Out of spite, Ayan makes an emotional appeal to spare the poor thing, and the mischievous spirit relents, finally giving up. Thus, Ayan's group reaches Pina, who receives a hug from Yuri and teases the human who tortured her up to that point. Yuri protects her partner, so the younger sister jokes that her sister has fallen for the mysterious adventurer. Afterward, Pina comes clean and asks to accompany the group, having grown tired of staying underground. In any case, she promises to give her spiritual core to everyone agrees, so it's decided that Pina will join the team. At the same time, the turtle reveals her human form and introduces herself as Korum, the guardian of Pina and daughter of the Black Turtle, one of the 4 sacred beasts. Having said that, she affectionately calls Ursula Little Ursula, leaving On astonished at how this tutor reveres this guardian. Holly, he asks Korum to allow Pina to join the team. The girl agrees, but admits she would like to ask a favor of little On, handing him a philosopher's stone. Korum explains that she would also like to accompany the group, and this stone will make it possible. Moreover, she reveals that her ability is Barrier, something that will undoubtedly be useful on their journey. As everyone agrees, Korum asks Ursula to add Pina's spirit core and the Philosopher's Stone to Ayan's artificial eye. Later, as everyone excitedly discusses their adventure expectations, Ursula finishes processing the core and transfers it to On's eye, upgrading it to level 4. Observing the new team members, On feels that things are about to get more exciting with more people around, and most importantly, Yuri seems happy. However, there are still 6 sisters to be found, and it's up to him to find them all. Meanwhile, Zoid awakens at the start of the dungeon with a droplet of water falling on his face and starts crying upon realizing he's been saved by the former scavenger of his group. A name will be in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the upcoming videos. See you. Our episode begins with Ian talking to Jasper, warning him that they should be very careful about counterfeit goods. However, with Jasper by his side, everything will be fine. Everyone looks at them in surprise and exclaims, "That's Jasper, the wealthy merchant everyone's been talking about." But who's behind him? At that moment, the guild secretary enters, greeting Mr. Jasper and informing him that she will call the guild master right away. Jasper tells her that there's no need for that. He's here accompanying this man, Ian, as he's looking to sell the items he gathered from the Damus. She then asks to see his guild certification, and Ian hands it to her. Upon reviewing his rating, she is shocked to see that his rating is D and his job is listed as evaluator. She looks at him in disbelief and says, "I don't think someone with an evaluation job could defeat monsters." Then she looks at Jasper and says, "Perhaps this boy is deceiving you." The people around them also start talking, saying things like, "This person is low level. How could he possibly defeat monsters? He must be too dumb to try and fool Jasper." Jasper then speaks to Ian, telling him, "Show them your true talent." At that moment, Ian reveals the giant monsters he's hunted, and everyone is stunned, shocked by the pile of rare items. People start murmuring, "That skull belongs to one of the most powerful monsters. Does that mean this evaluator is really strong, or did he steal it from someone? No one from the common low class could possibly have these things." Ian reflects quietly to himself, his eyes filled with sorrow and sadness. He thinks, "That's why I didn't want to come to the guild. I didn't want everyone gossiping about me and causing trouble. They always look down on me because I'm from the low class." At that moment, Megan, the leader of the Adventurers Guild in the capital, enters and says, "Shut up, you idiots. We can't accuse someone of lying or being hostile until we assess and test them." After that, the guild secretary finishes evaluating the items and tells them all the items are real. This shocks everyone again. Jasper then says, "See, you fools, he's being honest and he's strong enough to defeat these monsters himself." The guild secretary apologizes for her rudeness earlier, and Ian smiles faintly, replying, "It's all right." Megan then asks Ian to join their guild. She tells him to think about it and leaves. The guild secretary then asks Ian to wait in the waiting room while she processes the items, but Jasper tells Ian to hand over the other items he gathered from the secret Damus as well. This shocks everyone like a thunderclap, and they say, "Who are you? Maybe you're not even human." The people gather around Ian, but he quickly escapes from them. That night, we see Ian taking a bath in hot water. The moon is shining brightly, the air is calm, and the sky is clear. After that, Ian talks to one of the girls, telling her that he will do everything in his power to find Yuri's family, as he promised her. His feelings toward her will not change, no matter what. The next morning, after a deep sleep, Ian wakes up, and when he opens the door, he finds Megan waiting for him, accompanied by Jasper. She tells him that the guild master herself has come to ask him for something personally. Ian is surprised and asks, "Why me?" She can ask anyone in the guild. Megan replies that it's something only he can do. She then asks him if he knows about Behemoth, one of the ancient, powerful dragons that was brought here by the Demon King. However, after the Demon King was sealed, the dragon went into hiding. For some reason, Behemoth reappeared and started attacking merchants passing through this area. The guild master wants Ian to officially take on the mission to defeat Behemoth, who has an SS ranking. Ian is astonished by the request because this is a dangerous mission that could cost him his life. Jasper tells him not to get involved with the guild on this, but Ian doesn't listen and accepts the dangerous task. Megan and Jasper encourage him, saying that he has a strong heart worthy of the strength he possesses. After this conversation, Ian heads to the desert where the dragon is said to be. While traveling, he contacts Ursula and asks her for the dragon's location. She tells him she's already assessed its location. Behemoth is an earth dragon capable of absorbing magic spells and turning their power into its own. It can also transform normal air into projectiles that pierce space itself using the snail bullet technique. Ian realizes that he must fight with his sword and abilities. Ursula tells him that the dragon hides beneath the sand during the day, so he needs to lure it out. Ian uses his power to dig a huge hole in the ground, causing the dragon to emerge angrily, disturbed from its slumber. The dragon is enormous, and it hasn't known defeat since the Demon King gave it life. It has been the strongest since its birth and believes no threat in this world can shake it. The dragon looks at Ian with disdain, thinking he's weak. It decides to use powerful magic to dispose of him quickly. Ian tells the dragon that he's here to defeat it, but the dragon laughs mockingly. It believes Ian is a weak creature who can't possibly match its strength. The dragon then boasts that it is incredibly powerful, and the fact that the Demon King brought it here and made it so strong proves that. Ian responds by telling the dragon that the Demon King was never truly powerful. This infuriates the dragon, and it becomes enraged at the insult to its former master. The dragon then unleashes fire from its mouth towards Ian, but Ian manages to dodge it. The dragon taunts him, saying that no matter how far Ian runs, he will never be able to surpass it because it is the king of this land. Ayan continues running, and suddenly he closes the gap, cutting off the dragon's hand. The dragon is stunned as its skin is as tough as orichalcum, and it can't understand how Ayan was able to cut it. Suddenly, the dragon disappears from in front of Ayan, and he starts searching for it. The dragon has burrowed into the sand to launch a surprise attack. As it bursts out from under Ayan, its fate is sealed. The dragon rises from beneath Ayan and immediately attempts to devour him. The dragon is overjoyed, believing it has defeated Ayan, but suddenly Ayan shatters the dragon's body. As the dragon's remains fall to the ground, Ayan is still alive, untouched. The dragon can't understand how this happened and feels pain he's never experienced before. We then see Ayan emerge from the dragon's mouth completely unharmed. Ayan explains that what he did was release an absolute magic spell inside the dragon's body. He discovered through his evaluation that the dragon's outer skin only absorbs magic, so he made sure to use his magic accordingly. The dragon replies that it should have been harmed by such an explosion. Ayan then tells the dragon that he placed a barrier before casting the spell, and that the moment they met, he cast an illusion spell. The moment the dragon went underground, it followed his illusion, and once the illusion ended, the dragon's defenses were down. Ayan's words remind the dragon that arrogance led to its downfall. As the dragon underestimated humans, this realization saddens the dragon. The dragon speaks, saying, "I lost the moment we met. Defeating this ancient dragon is an incredible achievement. I didn't realize that what I sought for so long could be so terrifying, but defeat is not necessarily a bad thing." Ursula then speaks to Ayan, asking, "What's inside of you?" Ayan answers that Behemoth is evil and attacks humans, but if the Demon King created it, it doesn't change the fact that it attacked people. Ursula responds that no matter how it was created, it attacked humans and perished without changing. She quickly evaluates Ayan's abilities. Meanwhile, the girls are impressed by Ayan and his strength. They marvel at the fact that no one has ever been able to defeat an ancient dragon like Ayan did. Ayan tells them that he isn't strong on his own. All of this is thanks to the power they gave him. The scene then shifts to a grand palace where the princess enters and speaks to Ayan. She apologizes for not being able to visit him sooner, but the reason for inviting him today is that her father, the king, wants to meet him. Ayan sees the king, who appears massive and intimidating, causing Ayan to feel fearful of his size and imposing presence. The king speaks, telling Ayan that he wanted to meet him. He expresses pride in being his protector and encourages Ayan to relax and not be afraid. The king mentions that he heard from Megan that Ayan defeated the ancient dragon, and as the ruler of this land, he wants to express his gratitude. The task was incredibly difficult, and the king says Ayan is exactly how his daughter described him: strong, handsome, noble, and humble despite his overwhelming power. The princess, clearly pleased, adds that she described him as very strong, handsome, and noble, never acting arrogantly despite his strength. The king then addresses the matter of Behemoth, saying that defeating the dragon isn't Ayan's only accomplishment. He recalls how Ayan saved his daughter that day and expresses his deep thanks. As a father, he says it's only natural to lower his head to anyone who saved his daughter. Ayan replies that he also thanks Yuri, as he couldn't have done anything without her strength. The king praises Ayan's pure heart, saying that his judgment of people is something he takes pride in. He notes that Ayan's eyes reveal that he hasn't lost himself under the influence of power, and he admires that. The king believes Ayan will undoubtedly rise to a position of great importance and looks forward to seeing his growth. The conversation was so enjoyable that the king didn't realize how much time had passed. He then hands Ayan a royal pocket watch engraved with the royal crest, telling him it will allow him to go wherever he wants. Ayan is surprised by the gesture, saying, "You're giving me something this important." He realizes that the watch will allow him access to places he couldn't reach before and will help him in finding Yuri's family. Ayan takes the watch, thanks the king, and bids him farewell. Later, the people in the city talk about the dragon's defeat and marvel at the fact that Ayan was the one who did it. As they discuss, Ayan accidentally bumps into Zoid and falls to the ground. The man curses at Zoid, and Zoid overhears the conversation about Ayan defeating the dragon. He becomes deeply saddened because he thought he was stronger than Ayan and always used to be the one picking up trash behind him. Suddenly, Echidna appears before Zoid, offering to help him. The episode ends there, leaving the story open for the next chapter. End of episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any new updates. The episode begins early in the morning with Yuri and Bina. After taking a bath, Bina asks her sister to dry her hair. While drying, Yuri mentions that Ayan hasn't woken up yet, and she's really worried about him. Bina reassures her, saying their mother told her that Ayan is just a little exhausted, so there's no need to worry. She then suggests cooking something for him to help him recover. Yuri gets excited about the idea, and they decide to go to the market to buy ingredients. However, Yuri hesitates, fearing that Ayan might be in danger if they leave him alone or that they themselves might encounter trouble outside. Bina reassures her, reminding her that nothing bad has happened to them so far. We then shift to Zoid, who is accompanied by a mysterious girl named Echidna, a spirit. Zoid asks her what she wants from him, and she responds that she knows he harbors deep hatred towards someone. The scene transitions to Ayan, who is still asleep and dreaming. In his dream, he finds himself in an unfamiliar place before suddenly realizing he is part of Zoid's team. Zoid constantly scolds him, making him feel worthless. Then the setting changes to a tavern where Zoid tosses a few gold coins at him. Ayan thanks him, but Zoid mockingly tells him that he doesn't deserve even a single coin, calling him the weakest among them. He reminds him that residents will always be at the bottom, no matter how hard they try. Ayan doesn't react to the insults, but suddenly his dream shifts again. This time, he sees himself being devoured by wild hounds. Seeing his own gruesome fate, he mutters that if he hadn't met Yuri, he would have ended up like this. Suddenly, Ayan wakes up in shock, finding Ursula sitting beside him. Confused, he asks where they are, only remembering that he last saw the king. Ursula tells him that he completely exhausted himself and ended up sleeping for a long time. When Ayan asks about Yuri, Ursula tells him that she went shopping with Bina, but assures him not to worry, she's tracking their location in real time and can rush to them immediately if anything happens. Ayan then tells Ursula that he had a terrible dream and realizes that his fate changed entirely because he met her and Yuri. They brought him good fortune, and he is here now thanks to the power they gave him. Back to Zoid, Echidna tells him that she can help him take revenge on Ayan, the one he despises, by using the spirit eyes that Ayan possesses. Zoid doesn't understand what she means, so Echidna explains that he can also acquire such power effortlessly. Realizing that the spirit eyes are the source of Ayan's incredible strength, Zoid becomes frustrated. Without hesitation, he demands that Echidna grant him the same ability. Echidna then implants a spirit eye into Zoid's head, causing him to transform into a massive monster. Feeling an immense surge of power within him, he takes to the sky, feeling lighter and stronger than ever before. As he soars, he spots his former lover, Jelaine, with another man. Enraged, he rushes toward them and bites off the man's head. He then tells Jelaine that she will pay for betraying him. No one is there to protect her now. Recognizing his voice, Jelaine pleads for her life, for she was never truly with the man he had threatened to kill her if she didn't act as his lover. She also offers to tell the guild that the paralysis spell cast on Ayan was entirely her idea. However, Zoid ignores her pleas and devours her as well. Meanwhile, Yuri and Bina are strolling through the streets when they suddenly hear a massive explosion. People start screaming and running in terror, chased by a gigantic monster. Without hesitation, Yuri rushes toward the commotion to find out what's happening. Then Yuri spots a small child with an injured hand. She quickly treats his wound, and the child thanks her before pleading with her to run away with him. Yuri reassures him that she will heal the others first and then escape after him, urging him to leave quickly before he gets hurt. As the child runs off, Yuri rushes to tend to the other wounded people. Meanwhile, Echidna contacts Zoid, telling him to stop playing around with insects and focus on eliminating the spirits once they're gone. Ayan will no longer be able to use their power. Zoid agrees, realizing that this will force Ayan back into his pathetic, powerless self. Zoid then heads straight for Yuri, intending to kill her. Just as he's about to strike, Bina steps in and protects her sister with a massive magical barrier. She then grabs Yuri and tries to escape. Zoid attempts to shatter the barrier but fails. Echidna scoffs, telling him that brute force won't break a magical shield. It's time to use his new talent, a power that directly opposes spiritual energy. Zoid activates his newfound ability, and with ease he obliterates the barrier. He immediately charges at Bina and Yuri again. Bina desperately tries to cast another barrier, but Zoid crushes it just as effortlessly. With his massive hands, he grabs Yuri and squeezes tightly, causing her immense pain. He mocks her, calling her a fool for giving Ayan such power. Because of her, she will now die. At that moment, Ayan arrives. Without hesitation, he slashes his own hand, forcing Zoid to release Yuri. Seeing how terrified Yuri and Bina are of this monstrous form, Ayan makes a quick decision. He activates his ability and pulls them both into his eye for protection. Ayan then assesses Zoid's power and is stunned by the evaluation, exclaiming that he has never seen anything like it before. It's a form of concealment magic, but so advanced that even the spirit eye is deceived. Zoid launches an attack, but Ayan skillfully blocks every strike and activates a barrier. However, to his shock, Zoid shatters it effortlessly. Ayan, wide-eyed, mutters in disbelief, "I can't believe you destroyed a spiritual barrier." Meanwhile, Echidna watches from afar, smirking. Breaking such a fragile shield, it's pointless against anti-spirit abilities. Ayan is going to die here. Ayan stands in shock as he hears the familiar voice laughing at him. "Is that all you've got?" Zoid sneers. Ayan's eyes widen. He knows that voice. "Zoid? Is that really you?" he asks in disbelief. Zoid smirks. "I've gained the blessing of the spirits, just like you have evolved." Without another word, Zoid lunges at Ayan, sending him flying. As Ayan recovers, Zoid charges after him relentlessly. Just then, Ursula warns Ayan, if you don't kill him, he'll kill you, but Ayan hesitates. I can't, not like this, he mutters, conflicted. He leaps onto the rooftop, but Zoid follows him instantly. Amazing, isn't it? Zoid says with a twisted grin, my power is incredible. And you, Ayan, I can't believe you've become this strong too. But I promise you, your end will come by my hands. Look at them, these people I just killed. They betrayed me. With this brutal strength, I can do whatever I want. Ayan's anger boils over as he clenches his fists. You're insane? You're heartless? You have no soul? But Zoid simply laughs again and says, all this time, I only wanted revenge. I wanted to settle the score with you. Ayan's face darkens and he shouts, you're wrong, you idiot. Not once did I ever think about killing you. I've never wanted to hurt you. My heart was never filled with hatred toward you. Suddenly, a shadowy figure whispers in Ayan's ear, really? Are you sure? Haven't you ever thought about it? They all mocked you, called you worthless. They laughed at you for being from the lower class. They called you garbage collector. You and this beast standing before you are the same. Ayan groans, clutching his head as a sharp pain surges through him. The voices claw at his mind, twisting his thoughts. But before he loses himself, his friends burst onto the scene. Don't listen to him, Ayan, one of them shouts. You're nothing like him. You're kind, you're warm. You're not a monster like he is. You never were. Another one steps forward, pointing at Zoid with disgust. You're not even a man. No real man would do what you're doing. You were a monster long before you transformed. Then, turning back to Ayan, they plead with him, listen to us, Ayan. You didn't become strong because you stole power from someone. You trained harder than anyone. You fought for your strength. Use it now to protect those who need you. You've never harmed anyone before, and you've always said you wanted to repay Yuri for her kindness. But that kindness didn't change you, Ayan. You were always like this, brave, compassionate, strong. Just as they finish speaking, the sinister voice inside Ayan whispers again, don't let them fool you. I know you better than anyone. Then, Yuri, the gentle girl who always believed in Ayan, steps forward. You know I love you, she says softly. I'm with you. I want you to live in peace. Ayan's heart clenches. Tears well up in his eyes. Have I really become strong? He asks himself. Zoid, irritated by the conversation, scoffs. Enough of this nonsense. You're all just yapping like a bunch of weaklings. You're nothing but a worthless worm, just like me, but Ayan's resolve hardens. No, he says firmly, I am not like anyone else. I built my own path. Yuri helped me, yes, but in the end, my choices were mine. And now I will destroy every last bit of darkness. In that instant, he overcomes his inner demons, obliterating the shadowy figure that tormented him. A surge of magical energy erupts from him, overwhelming the battlefield. Zoid takes a step back, stunned. What is this power? Ayan grips his sword tightly. I will never hesitate again. If evil threatens the people I love, I will crush it. With that, Zoid lunges at him, but Ayan counters with a devastating blow, sending him flying. What power? How is he this strong? Zoid gasps. He tries to strike Ayan again, but his attacks are useless. Then the dark entity that empowered Zoid grants him even more strength, desperate to turn the tide. But Ayan doesn't flinch. Drawing his sword, he unleashes his full power, slicing Zoid in half. The dark beast inside Zoid is instantly expelled. As Zoid falls to the ground, Ayan extends a hand toward him. Zoid stares at it in disbelief. Why do you always try to help me? He shouts. Ayan smiles gently. I don't need a reason to help others. Zoid grits his teeth. You act so strong, but you're just a fool. But Ayan's response is unwavering. Does a person have to be strong to help others, Zoid? Is being weak an excuse to do nothing? I've changed, and so can you. All you have to do is take my hand. Tears stream down Zoid's face as he finally reaches out, grasping Ayan's hand. At that moment, the police arrive, taking Zoid away. As Ayan watches them leave, he murmurs, someone must have taken advantage of Zoid's weak heart and granted him the power of the spirits. But who? Then, in the shadows, the demoness smirks. Everything went exactly as planned, except for Zoid's survival. No matter. I sealed his memories. He won't remember a thing. She turns and vanishes into the darkness, scheming something even more sinister. What is she planning next? Stay tuned for the next episode to find out. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Our episode begins with Ursula telling Ayan that he is now Yuri's guardian and must establish a proper connection with her. She instructs him to get closer to her, strengthen their bond before leaving the room. Ayan then kisses Yuri on the forehead, transferring magical energy that enhances her level. That night, we see a girl named Aikende inside the castle with Baron Falco. She brings him a decree from the Demon King ordering the assassination of the young man. Baron Falco remarks that this task sounds easy, he'll kill him without any trouble. However, Aikende warns him that the boy is incredibly strong, having defeated a dragon by himself. Falco scoffs at her words, claiming that dragons are far weaker than him, but he acknowledges his own strength and confidently states that he will eliminate Ayan. He then asks Ikenda to open a portal to the human world for him. Using his ability, the Baron swiftly flies through the sky, coming to a stop in front of Ayan. Introducing himself, he announces his intent to kill him. Ayan looks at him calmly and tells him to lower his voice since everyone is asleep. This infuriates Baron Falco, who immediately launches an attack. However, Ayan counters with a powerful strike, using his magic to hurl Falco to the ground. Ayan then activates his ability to assess Falco's strength, wondering if the Baron came to kill him or if his real target is Yuri and the others. Suddenly, the girls gather around Ayan in the forest, asking him what is happening. He apologizes for waking them up. The next morning, Ayan and Yuri meet Claudia at the castle. He informs her that he is heading to the Forbidden Library, an extensive archive of texts accessible only to the royal family. Thanks to the silver watch gifted to him by King Sarah, he now has permission to enter places he previously couldn't. Claudia guides them to the library's entrance and tells him she must leave since only the king and the librarian are allowed inside. Ayan replies that he has obtained the king's approval, but wonders how he will get permission from the librarian. Claudia tells him he'll find out once he steps inside. Ayan approaches the door and enters, with Yuri following him. However, a sudden invisible barrier forms between them, cutting off their connection. Ursula appears and explains that this barrier prevents anything non-human from passing through, meaning she herself cannot cross it. Ayan tells him that he will proceed alone and steps forward. Inside the library, Ayan is astonished by the sheer number of books. Finding the right information among them will be a daunting task. Suddenly, a girl falls from above and Ayan rushes to catch her. She thanks him and introduces herself as Alice, explaining that she had been reading a book when she accidentally fell. Using her magic, Alice returns the book to its proper place and reveals that she is the librarian, meaning she knows where every book is located. Ayan thanks her as he was able to enter the library thanks to her presence. He then tells her that he is searching for information on the secret Diamus because he wants to help someone dear to him find her family. Alice uses her magic to summon a book and hands it to Ayan, saying he will find information about the secret Diamus inside. She then asks him about Yuri. Ayan is surprised and asks how she knows Yuri's name. Alice explains that the entity within Ayan's left eye is Yuri's soul core. She knows this because she is also a world tree spirit. After leaving the library, Ayan reunites with Yuri and Bina, and they head to the location Alice told him about. However, they find no trace of Diamus there. Ayan decides to return to the library to ask Alice once again. Then we see Alice with her mother in the library. Her mother asks why she didn't give Ayan the book that contains the location of the secret Diamus. Alice replies that interacting with the outside world scares her. She lacks any combat abilities, so she prefers to observe Yuri from a distance. Moreover, she despises humans because they killed her older sister, Ikenda. She still doesn't fully trust Ayan. Several hours later, Ayan arrives at the library again. Alice's mother appears, welcoming him and asking Alice to serve tea to their guest. She introduces herself as a Kahani, Alice's guardian and mother figure. Ayan greets her politely and tells them he couldn't find the secret Diamus. Akahani explains that the Diamus is not inside the royal castle, but rather in a completely separate secret dungeon. A unique portal connects the two locations, allowing travel between them. However, only humans can pass through it. Additionally, a powerful spell prevents the portal's use unless authorized by both the king and the librarian. Since this place holds all the kingdom's secrets in history, the power of the World Tree has been used to protect it. In return, they are allowed to remain here and read any book they desire. However, if Alice or Yuri were to cross the portal, the ancient contract would be broken. To reunite Yuri with her sister without violating this pact, Ayan must find the Diamus and bring Yuri directly to the library. Ayan then suggests that Alice leave the library herself. Alice hesitates, saying she's too afraid. Ayan reassures her, telling her he understands how she feels. When he first arrived in this world, he was terrified too. But thanks to Yuri and the others, he found the courage to move forward. He promises Alice that he will always protect her and defeat any monsters that stand in her way until she reaches Yuri. Realizing the depth of her fear, Ayan decides to handle everything himself. He tells Alice to stay where she is while he searches for the Diamus and a way to bring Yuri into the library. Then, he leaves. The next morning, Akahani is seen brushing Alice's hair, and they talk about Ayan. Akahani assures Alice that she will always be by her side and protect her as her mother. Touched by her words, Alice tears up. Suddenly, Ayan arrives. Alice looks at him and with newfound resolve tells him that she trusts him and wants to go to the outside world. Ayan smiles, picks her up, and flies toward the library entrance. Thus begins their journey out of the castle. Along the way, Ayan fights off every monster and guard they encounter, defeating them with ease. Eventually, they reach the massive gate and step outside, finally reuniting with Yuri and the others. Yuri is overjoyed to see Alice, and the entire group celebrates their reunion. Yuri thanks Ayan for bringing her sister to her. Alice, deeply moved, hugs Yuri and then thanks Ayan for making their reunion possible. And with that, today's episode of this anime comes to an end. To watch more episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.
Today's episode begins with Ayan at the guild, where a guild official informs him that the king has personally requested his help through the guild. The king needs something from him regarding the demons. Ayan immediately recalls that demon who once told him, "My name is Falco, the Stormgale, a rank 5 demon." Ayan nods and says, "Yes, I know about the demons, but what's the matter?" Megan steps in and explains, "Several Korans ago, the demons were expelled from the human world when the heroes built a dimensional barrier. However, recently, sightings of demons have increased in the Rishik region, this very nation. Your mission is to eliminate the demons that are wreaking havoc there. This is a critical matter. We cannot allow them to cause further destruction. And since an average adventurer cannot handle demons, we chose you. You're the only one capable of completing this mission." Later, Ayan speaks with his companions, telling them about his decision to go to Rishik and eliminate the demons. They hesitate, saying, "That place is far away. Why should we risk ourselves for strangers?" Ayan responds firmly, "Wasn't I a stranger to you when you helped me for the first time? I want to do good. That's the life I chose, the way I was raised, and now I have great power thanks to all of you. So I won't hesitate to use it for the sake of good." His companions look at each other before nodding in agreement, saying, "We're with you." Even Yuri, who was initially reluctant, eventually says, "Fine, I'll help too." With that, Ayan informs Jasper and Megan that he accepts the mission and is fully prepared. Scene transition. In Rishik, a small town bustles with people walking through the streets. A little girl tugs at her father's sleeve, saying, "Daddy, I'm hungry." Her father replies, "We're almost there, sweetheart." But then, something eerie happens. The townspeople immediately recognize the signs and murmur in fear, "Lord Hydra is arriving. We must all bow." A massive serpent-like creature, the town's so-called guardian, slithers into view. The people prepare to offer a sacrifice to appease it. The girl's father kneels before her, his hands trembling as he whispers, "Go, my daughter. Go to the great dragon, and you will ascend to heaven." The little girl doesn't understand at first, but as she sees the sorrow in her father's eyes, the truth dawns on her. Tears stream down her face as she backs away, then suddenly sprints toward the dragon in terror. But at the last moment, her father's resolve shatters. He rushes after her and embraces her tightly. The villagers protest, "Are you insane?" We all agreed to this. Offering her is the only way to keep the village safe. The Hydra lets out a deep guttural laugh. "Fools, you think a single sacrifice is enough? I love eating men the most. I will devour all of you." A sinister voice booms. "Disobeying me comes at a great cost. If you fail to bring a sacrifice each month, I will destroy your entire village." The villagers tremble in fear, knowing they are doomed. Just as the Hydra prepares to strike, Ayan arrives in a flash, activating a powerful protective barrier. He analyzes the creature, identifying it as an ancient Hydra, rank SS, possessing lethal venom and regenerative healing abilities. Yuri immediately unleashes her high-level healing magic to help the affected townsfolk recover. Ayan then turns to the villagers and orders, "Take the girl and run." "I'll deal with this monster," one of the men stammers. "What's the point? He'll just kill us all anyway." But Ayan grips his sword, eyes burning with determination. With a single devastating strike, he shreds the Hydra into tiny pieces. The village erupts in cheers, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude. "You saved us! You are truly a hero!" Ayan has accomplished another incredible feat. Ayan was thanked by all the villagers for saving them, but he simply told them he was just doing what anyone should. Then he asked to meet the lord of the region. Suddenly, everyone's mood darkened, leaving Ayan confused. One of the men explained that they were truly grateful for his help, as they would have been killed without him. After that, everyone returned to their homes. Ayan tried speaking with them, but they wouldn't listen. However, the young girl from before came back, thanking him once again, her face beaming with joy. Ayan told her that he hadn't done anything special, but he wanted to protect smiles like hers, because that feeling was something no one could take from him. Then he warned her to be careful on her way home. At that moment, Ayan made up his mind to meet the region's lord. He headed to the Lord's mansion and upon arrival, felt an eerie sensation. The mansion was the only place that looked unnaturally extravagant. Cautious, Ayan ordered the girls to hide inside his eye, unsure of what awaited them. Once they were safely concealed, he stepped inside to meet Lord Negan. Negan welcomed him warmly, expressing how honored he was to meet the famous Dragon Slayer. He even offered Ayan some sweets that he had prepared himself. However, the moment Ayan took a bite, he found them unbearably salty. Negan, embarrassed, quickly apologized, realizing he had mixed up the salt and sugar. Moving on, Ayan asked him about the demons that had recently appeared in the region. Negan, visibly surprised, denied having seen anything like that. He explained that they were near the Abyssal Forest, a well-known haven for countless monsters, so perhaps rumors had been exaggerated. Ayan clarified that people often confuse demons with regular monsters. Negan then requested that Ayan inform the guild that there were no real issues in his territory. However, Ayan insisted on investigating the area himself, as it was clear the villagers were suffering. He also mentioned that he had slain a Hydra on his way there. Negan was utterly shocked. He explained that the Hydra's presence was what had kept the monsters away from the village. Now that it was gone, the village would be vulnerable once again. Ayan sharply responded that the Hydra had been demanding human sacrifices. He couldn't just stand by and watch a young girl be slaughtered. Negan, still composed, argued that sacrificing one life could save 100 more. But then with a sigh, he acknowledged that what was done was done. He added that while Ayan could simply defeat his enemies and leave, the people of this land had to continue living here. He had inherited the duty of protecting this region from his late father and would do whatever it took to keep it safe. Ayan left the mansion, his mind weighed down by guilt. Had he done the right thing? He didn't know the full story, and the idea of sacrificing one life to save 100 gnawed at him. Just then, Yuri appeared before him. She admitted she didn't understand such complicated matters but urged him to follow the path he believed was right. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Negan stood before his mirror, speaking with his demon, Shadow. He informed him about the Hydra's defeat, emphasizing the need to find a replacement quickly. Shadow, however, remained calm, assuring Negan that replacing the Hydra would be easy. The real problem now was Ayan. Negan was puzzled by this statement. Shadow elaborated, no ordinary human could slay an SS-ranked dragon. That meant Ayan wasn't human at all. He was the real demon here, and if he truly wanted to protect the village, he had to die. Negan thanked Shadow for his support. Cut back to Ayan. He had arrived at his destination, only to find it utterly destroyed. It looked as though monsters had ravaged the place for years. The watchtower was abandoned, leaving the village completely exposed to attacks. He approached an elderly woman and introduced himself, but she recoiled in fear and fled. This reminded him of the villagers' sorrowful expressions from earlier. He still didn't understand what was wrong, but he resolved to protect their smiles. Determined, he sought out another villager, introducing himself again, hoping for answers. The man explained that many adventurers and military officers had passed through, yet none could help. They had all simply turned their backs on them. The moment the Hydra disappeared, the monsters came and laid waste to everything. Then, the man showed Ayan the barren land, once fertile but now incapable of growing anything. What are we supposed to do now? Die of hunger or be slaughtered by monsters? The man asked bitterly. All we ever wanted was a normal life. Moved by their suffering, Ayan placed his hand on the ground, channeling his power. Instantly, fresh crops sprouted from the lifeless soil. Then, with another spell, he erected a massive wall around the village, fortifying it against future monster attacks. He urged the man to stay strong, to fight, and to never give in to despair. The man laughed. You really want to help us? This is only the second time in my life that someone has said that to me. Ayan asked about the first time. The man sighed. It was our previous lord, Lord Negan's father. He told us never to give up no matter what. He was brave, kind, even funny. But things changed when Negan took over. That was when the Hydra appeared, and Negan made a pact to sacrifice people to it. Our defenses were weakened to the lowest level, and taxes skyrocketed. Those who couldn't bear it any longer went to confront him, but they never returned. Looking at Ayan, the man's eyes shone with hope. I believe in you. You're the one who will free us from him. As Ayan walked away, Yuri emerged from his eye, confused. What's going on? She asked. Ayan looked toward the horizon. A massive wave of monsters is coming, but I'm not letting a single one touch this village. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications.
Ayan and Yuri begin the episode by discussing the massive horde of monsters advancing toward them. Despite the overwhelming numbers, Ayan decides he will defeat them all, no matter how many there are. He refuses to let a single one reach the village, but when he looks toward the approaching creatures, he realizes their sheer size is far greater than he had imagined. His mind races. This wall won't hold against such an onslaught. If the monsters break through, the village will be wiped out in an instant. Yuri anxiously asks him what they should do now, but Ayan remains deep in thought for a moment before instructing her to retreat into his eye until he finishes the battle. He then orders the villagers to fall back, ensuring their safety. Steeling himself, he steps forward toward the enemy. He has made a promise to the people. He will protect their smiles. Even if tens of thousands of enemies stand in his way, he will defeat them all. Without hesitation, Ayan casts the Spiral Shot spell, launching a powerful attack that takes down a small number of monsters. However, the creatures quickly adapt, merging their strength together to overwhelm him. Undeterred, Ayan unleashes a relentless barrage of spells, decimating a large portion of the horde. But he knows brute force alone won't be enough. Strategically shifting his approach, he targets the rear flank, using his Phantom Clone technique to create an opening. Seizing the opportunity, he follows up with his final spell, the Steel Thread, slicing through a massive group of monsters in one swift motion. Yuri watches in growing concern, urging him to stop. If he keeps fighting like this, he'll be the first to collapse. But Ayan simply grits his teeth and declares that he won't stop, not until every last one of them is defeated. In a climactic moment, he casts the Colossal Slash spell, tearing through the remaining monsters with a devastating force, reducing them to nothing but scattered remains. The battle is over. Ayan has done it. He has defeated them all, completely alone. Exhausted, Ayan collapses to the ground, gasping for breath. He turns to Yuri with a tired but triumphant smile, telling her how relieved he is that he managed to protect everyone. Yuri quickly kneels beside him, urging him to stay calm. She will heal him herself. She channels her power, tending to his injuries. Just then, Ursula arrives, stunned beyond words at what she's witnessing, and has pushed himself to his absolute limits, to the point where even Yuri's healing is barely enough to sustain him. He single-handedly defeated an entire army of monsters, an achievement beyond belief. At that moment, a small child dashes toward Ayan, throwing herself into his arms in a tearful embrace. He had saved them all. The other villagers soon follow, expressing their heartfelt gratitude. This was not the first time Ayan had protected their home. He had done it before, and now he had done it again. But as the celebration dies down, a man steps forward and poses a question to the crowd. Can we really keep going like this? His words catch everyone off guard. He continues, explaining that Ayan nearly died protecting them, fighting alone for their sake, even though he barely knew them. The villagers exchange uncertain glances, trying to grasp his meaning. He presses on, stating that up until now, all they had done was curse their fate, resigning themselves to death. They had convinced themselves that fighting back was futile, that sacrifices were unavoidable. But after witnessing Ayan's battle, how could they continue to think that way? What Ayan had protected was not just their lives, it was their dignity. His words ignite something deep within them. The fire of determination is rekindled in their hearts. They refuse to live like this any longer. From this moment on, they will shape their own future. Ayan watches this transformation unfold before his eyes, his heart swelling with joy. His efforts had not been in vain. The battle was not just about defeating monsters, it was about restoring hope. Turning to Yuri, he thanks her once more, not just for saving him when they first met, but for everything she has given him. Her presence had granted him a sense of pride, a newfound confidence. With unwavering sincerity, he tells her that he wants to stay by her side forever, to witness the world through her eyes. At that moment, the villagers gather once again, now with newfound resolve. They declare that they too will fight for their future. They refuse to let Negun control them any longer. But just as their determination solidifies, Negun himself appears before them. A cold wave of fear sweeps over the crowd at the mere sight of him. But this time, they do not cower. They steel themselves and face him head-on. With unwavering conviction, they announce that they will no longer follow him. They will fight back. It was not Negun who had protected them. It was their true leader. Negun, unfazed, scoffs at their defiance. He tells them they are being deceived. Ayan is a demon, nothing more. If they truly thought about it, they would realize that no ordinary human could defeat a Hydra and an entire army of monsters alone. This was all just a grand performance, orchestrated by Ayan to seize control of Reshik. But the villagers refuse to waver. If this is a trick, then they welcome it. Anything would be better than the reality they had suffered under Nagon's rule. Furious, Nagon insists that everything he did was to protect this land. But his words fall on deaf ears. The villagers cut him off, their voices filled with scorn. They do not want a ruler who views them as expendable sacrifices. They need a leader who stands alongside them in battle, just as Ayan's father once did. Nagon is left speechless, his expression twisting in horror. He clutches his head, screaming in agony as if his very mind is being torn apart. Desperate, Nagon cries out for Shadow, pleading for his aid. He then produces a mysterious pendant. Ayan immediately recognizes the danger and tries to intervene. But just like with Zoid, he is unable to dispel it due to its concealment magic. Nagon clings to the artifact, ignoring Ayan's warning. A dark force engulfs him. In an instant, he is transported to a strange, unfamiliar realm. There, he comes face to face with Shadow. Trembling, Nagon demands to know what he is supposed to do now. Shadow's response is cold and unwavering. He must continue what he started. He must kill them all, just as he did with his father. Nagon stares at him, shaking his head in denial. His father had been gravely ill. He never intended to harm him. But Shadow silences him with a chilling remark. I will tell you what truly happened. Nagon suddenly remembers his childhood. One day, he approached his father, who was working in the fields, and urged him to take a break. His father, though reluctant at first, eventually rested for a bit. The villagers thanked him for always helping them with everything, to which he laughed and replied that they all lived together in this land, so of course he had to help. Nagon admired his father. He was neither arrogant nor weak-willed, and everyone loved him. Someday, Nagon wanted to become a great lord like him. His father then told him to go play with his friends, but Nagon insisted on staying to work with him. However, his father refused, saying that a child's job was to play. He urged Nagon to go and enjoy himself. Nagon ran off to play, but the other children stopped him. They claimed they knew he had a contagious disease and that they shouldn't play with him. Then they ran away, leaving him behind. Nagon was heartbroken. He wasn't sick. His body was just a little weak. He wouldn't infect anyone. Tears streamed down his face as he sobbed, I'm weak. I'm useless. I'll never be like my father. At that moment, something strange happened. A shadowy figure identical to him emerged and spoke to him. Nagon was startled and asked, Who are you? Why do you look exactly like me? The figure responded, I am your shadow. I will always be by your side. You must never tell anyone about me or I will disappear. This is our secret. Nagon, desperate for a friend, even an imaginary one, promised to keep the secret. For the first time in his life, he had someone to talk to. Day after day, Shadow played with him, accompanying him in his daily life. One day, Nagon entered his house and found his father looking unwell. Though he reassured his son that he was fine, he explained that he had been exposed to poisonous mist released by a large monster. Nagon was deeply worried about his father and confided in Shadow, unsure of what to do. Shadow smirked in a sinister way and told him that there was a special herb that could cure his father's exhaustion. Nagon quickly ran to check the book of medicinal herbs. He found the herb Shadow had mentioned, and according to the book, it was effective against fatigue. Overjoyed, he thanked Shadow and prepared the herb for his father. His father smiled warmly, drank the herbal remedy, and told Nagon, You're such a kind boy. Never lose that kindness, my son. One day, you will become a great lord. However, his father's condition worsened with each passing day. Determined to help him recover, Nagon brewed the herbal drink daily, believing it would heal him, but things only got worse. On the fourth morning, Nagon entered his father's room, only to find him lifeless. Nagon was devastated. He wept uncontrollably, while Shadow stood by, watching him with an eerie calmness. Calm yourself, Nagon, Shadow said. How can I? Nagon screamed. My father is dead, and now there's no way I can protect the Rishik region. Shadow smiled darkly. I am with you, he said, and I can give you everything you lack. Back in the present, Shadow revealed the truth to Nagon. You killed your own father with your own hands, he said. Nagon was struck with horror. You're lying, my father was sick. Enough with these delusions, Shadow sneered. That so-called medicinal herb you gave him wasn't medicine, it was poison. Nagon's eyes widened in shock. No! That's impossible. The herb guide said it was for fatigue. Shadow let out a wicked laugh. Oh, Nagon, I was the one who forged that book. Nagon's breathing became shallow as the weight of the truth crushed him. And, Shadow continued, his voice dripping with malice, when I told you that Ayan was a demon, that too was a lie. He is a normal human. The real demon is me. Nagon stood frozen, unable to process what he was hearing. Shadow chuckled darkly. My original plan was to manipulate your father and establish a trade route for humans to the demon world, but he never let his guard down. You, on the other hand, you were the perfect pawn, so easy to manipulate. Thanks to you, I was able to send many humans to the demon realm. Shadow's words bore into Negan's mind like daggers. He could feel himself breaking apart as Shadow pressed on, revealing more and more. Finally, Shadow fully merged with Negan, their bodies becoming one. Ayan watched in shock. This isn't Negan. Who the hell are you, idiot? Shadow smirked, his voice now deeper and more menacing. I am one of the 5 nobles of the demon clan. Ayan's eyes widened. A demon? Just what the hell is going on here? To be continued. Subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Today's episode begins with Ayan and Negan as the demon Shadow, who resides within Negan, speaks. Shadow tells Ayan that he is a deputy count of the 5-rank demon nobility. Yuri suspects that Shadow is using a camouflage skill to deceive them. Ayan then speaks directly to Shadow, asking about Negan's whereabouts. Shadow mocks him, revealing that Negan is inside but extremely weak. Taking over his body was easy after manipulating his emotions just a little. Shadow then taunts Ayan, blaming him for everything that happened to Negan. He claims that he was successfully using Negan to weaken the area's defenses and send humans into the demon world, but Ayan ruined the plan completely. Left with no other choice, Shadow had to do it himself. However, unlike the brute Falco, he knows human weaknesses well. Since he is in Negan's body, he can just stand still and let Ayan kill him, because if Ayan does, he will kill Negan along with him. Shadow attempts to strike Ayan, but Ayan blocks the attack and traps him within a barrier. However, Shadow breaks free effortlessly, revealing that demons possess anti-spiritual arts, making low-level techniques useless. Ayan decides to pour a massive amount of spiritual energy into his technique, making it impossible to cancel. But before he can act, Shadow summons hordes of demons to attack the villagers. Ayan quickly rushes to stop them, constructing a wall to protect the village and instructing the villagers to flee. Shadow mocks him, saying that no matter what he does, he will never stop him. He commands the demons to attack the villagers, forcing Ayan to use a cloning spell to eliminate more demons at once. However, he still needs more clones. Suddenly, Shadow attacks him from behind. Ayan struggles to fight off the monsters while enhancing his techniques properly. He resorts to a defensive spell to block Shadow's relentless strikes. Ursula warns him that he cannot keep this up forever. Nothing will change if he only defends. Ayan acknowledges this, but says that he might be able to infuse his attacks with Yuri's purifying energy. However, he wants to extract Shadow from Negan's body first to avoid harming him. He considers trapping Shadow inside a reinforced barrier. Shadow provokes him, claiming that killing Negan is the only way to stop him. However, he knows that Ayan won't do it, as he still clings to his childhood dreams of protecting everyone, including Negan. If Ayan sacrifices Negan, he can protect the village. Ayan falls silent for a moment before calling out to Negan at the top of his lungs, hoping he can hear him. As expected, Shadow ridicules him, saying that Negan has locked his heart away. No matter how loud Ayan shouts, he won't hear him. Despite being struck by Shadow, Ayan presses forward, ignoring his words. Shadow starts to feel uneasy about Ayan's determination. Yuri pleads with Ayan not to continue, warning that her healing magic won't be able to keep up if he gets seriously injured. But Ayan doesn't care. He reaches Shadow and strikes him with a powerful blow, knocking him unconscious. Inside Negan's mind, Negan sits alone, contemplating his existence. He believes he should disappear entirely. Too many people have suffered because of him, and if he dies, no one else will get hurt. Suddenly, he hears Ayan's voice calling to him. Ayan knows that Negan wants to protect the villagers. He is a kind person who wants to help everyone. He urges Negan to open his eyes and see everything for himself. Negan recalls why he wanted to protect the village in the first place. He wanted to be like his father. Everyone loved his father, who was always surrounded by people, filling the place with smiles. His father once told him that he would become a great lord one day. Tears stream down Negan's face as he struggles with what is happening. Meanwhile, back in the village, demons are everywhere attacking the villagers. But instead of running away, the villagers decide to fight back and help Negan expel Shadow from his body. Returning to Nagun's mind, he cannot forgive himself for what happened. He should have seen through Shadow's lies, but he only believed what he wanted to believe. He tries to move forward, but he feels trapped. Determined, he pushes himself to force Shadow out of his body. Back in the real world, Shadow, still inside Nagun's body, tells Ains that resistance is futile. Ains couldn't kill him before, so he should just do it now. Suddenly, Shadow feels something strange. Nagun is resisting. Shocked, Shadow realizes that Nagun is actually managing to fight back. Nagun, in a desperate move, stabs himself, intending to take Shadow down with him. Ains rushes to help, but Ursula stops him, not wanting him to risk his life. Inside Nagun's mind, he finally confronts Shadow, saying that he now understands the truth. Shadow wasn't just an illusion, he was real. But he was also a traitor who used him. He was pure evil, hurting countless people. And yet, Nagun still considered him his closest friend. Nagun acknowledges that Shadow did save him once before. The time they spent together was real to him, but Shadow just laughs, saying that Nagun was nothing more than a pawn to him. He was too kind, too naive. That's why Shadow despised him. Just looking at him made him furious. Humans are weak, and weakness alone is enough to strip them of everything. That is simply the nature of the world. We see Shadow emerging from Nagun, saying, "I'll retreat for now and reorganize my plans." Then he notices a young girl and smirks. "I'll take control of her next, and one day, Ayan, I will kill you." Ayan lunges at Shadow with his sword, striking him before rushing to Nagun. "You're going to be fine. I'll heal you now." He immediately channels Yuri's healing magic, capable of closing any wound instantly. Yuri herself joins in, reinforcing the healing process. Nagun, still unconscious, dreams of his father, guiding him to wake up. Finally, after immense effort, Ain and Yuri manage to heal him completely, filling the air with relief and joy. But suddenly, Nagun yells at them, "You shouldn't have saved me. Dying was the only way to atone for my sins." Ain responds firmly, "If sacrificing one life could save 100, I still wouldn't accept it. I won't give up on anyone, not even you." The villagers step forward. "If we let you die here, we wouldn't be any better than you. Don't think death will erase your sins either. I'll never forgive you for what you did. I hate you for it, but your death won't bring back those we lost. They can't judge you anymore, nor can they forgive you. We won't let you escape this so easily. You'll atone by facing the consequences of your actions. No more running away." Nagun's face twists with sorrow. "I thought death would grant me forgiveness, that I'd finally see my father again. Thank you for giving someone as wretched as me another chance." Yuri suddenly collapses from exhaustion. Ain kneels beside her. "You pushed yourself too hard. You can barely stand. If Shadow had found me first, I might have ended up just like Nagun. I swear, I'll make the demons pay for preying on people's weaknesses." Meanwhile, Shadow, still weakened, mutters, "I can't die in a place like this." But suddenly, Bina traps him within a magical barrier. "He was trying to escape," she tells Ain. Ain approaches Shadow cautiously. "You're dangerous. Stay behind me." Shadow sneers. "Why do you insist on killing me?" Ain glares. "You know exactly why. But if you want to live, start talking." Shadow hesitates, eyes darting. "Fine, but only if you promise to free me. Spit it out." Shadow gulps, whispering, "There was an order to have you killed." Before he can say more, Ursula notices something. "There's a spell on him. If he reveals classified information, it activates automatically." Shadow's body trembles, dark energy surging through him. "We're up against an enemy far more cunning than we thought." And just like that, Shadow perishes. Back in the village, Ayan turns to the people. "It's over. The monster's dead. You're all safe now." Cheers erupt, but amidst the celebration, a little girl tugs at Ain's sleeve, her eyes filled with sadness. "Will we never see you again?" Ain crouches, smiling softly. "I'll come visit you again, I promise." Nagun, standing nearby, looks at Ain. "I know I don't have the right to ask for anything, but I have one final request." Ain listens as Nagun continues. "Please, continue supporting Rashik. The lands are overrun with monsters, and your presence alone would be a deterrent." The villagers chime in. "We plan to fight for our home, but knowing you're with us gives us hope." Later, Ain contemplates Nagun's request. He wants me to become the Lord of Rishik. The king nods. I had planned to grant you a noble title as a reward for slaying that demon. But Nagon himself requested that his lands be transferred to you. He has surrendered and wishes to assist Rishik by officially standing trial for his crimes. You have restored peace to the royal capital, uncovered the darkness shrouding Rishik, and vanquished a formidable demon. I hereby grant you dominion over Rishik. Though many protested the decision, the king had anticipated their concerns. That's why I sent you to slay the demon in the first place, he adds with a knowing smile. Joy spreads through the crowd. AIM had saved them all. Jasper approaches, grinning. Focus on your own goals. I'll handle all the tedious noble duties for you. Besides, this title will help you build valuable connections, which might even lead to new intel on the secret dungeons. Ayn lets out a breath, still surprised. I always wanted to help Rishik, but I never expected to become a noble. This is a surprise. He turns to the king. I humbly accept this noble title. Nearby, the princess's eyes sparkle with excitement. This makes our engagement even more certain. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. Stay tuned for the next one. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated.